for me, gardening to grow food. And here we have tomato season, and these are some of my first tomatoes from the garden. This is Golden King of Siberia, and this is Black Vernissage. And I've got a Black Beauty down here. I've got a lot more that's going to be ready to harvest soon. Uh, this is Python. It's a Python snake bean, which is part of the gourd family, and it's crunchy, delicious, really good, very tasty.
Now, how does that? Wait a minute. You have to tell me, how does that grow? Is that, you said it's part of the gourd family, so it kind of grows not underground.
These love to grow up my moringa trees, and you just see these snakes flowing from the trees. And when it's before I broke this up or cut it up, it really looks like a snake. If you go through my videos, you'll see a thumbnail where you see these snakes that I'm with me in my cowboy hat, and that's what this is. And it's if you let it get too mature, it's a little bit too fibrous. But when you pick it young enough, it's nice and tender.
Yeah, so you're eating it raw.
Oh yeah, it's really good.
Wow. Well, you said under your moringa tree, and I had just said that I have one because of your pod that you sent to me. So now you got me thinking. I need some snakes growing underneath my tree.
I'll just send you some seeds.
So, a lot of our audience, we have audience that are into gardening, and then we have audience that are into plant-based lifestyle. And I think that, are you incorporating some of that plant-based lifestyle into your life?
Oh, absolutely. So when I found out a few years ago that a nephew of mine had cancer, a very rare form of cancer that can be just very cruel to children, and he passed away. But during that time, when my brother, he's the oldest of 4 siblings, he asked me, since he's not internet savvy, he asked me to do some research help him with research on that. And so my best source was actually a coworker who she was diagnosed with breast cancer. And so she told me about the acid versus alkaline diet, that you want to put more alkaline foods. Most vegetables, well, actually, I think all vegetables are alkaline. And then blueberries are one of the very few things that, there's a lot of health benefits, but they're acidic, and that's okay to have some acid in your diet. But as we know, sugar is very acidic, and can be, if you have too much of just about anything, it can be unhealthy. But to help put more of alkaline into my diet, I started green smoothies. Now this isn't green because I put, and it's called black pusa acida carrot into this green, so it turned it kind of purple, dark purple.
Yeah.
But it's delicious. I have a mixture of fruits, and when I have fruit from the property, I call it fruit from the farm. Then I incorporate that. But right now I'm buying store-bought frozen berries and putting that in there. And then so a mixture of fruits, vegetables, leafy greens. These are some of my edible perennials, beautiful landscape perennials.
They almost look like house plants.
I know. These are not house plants. I bought these inside for the show today. Excuse me. So, this is something that your HOA, if you have a real picky HOA, they're not going to complain about this. It looks like a beautiful landscape plant, but it's also delicious.
And what is that? What is it called, David?
This is called South Sea Salad Tree, and then this is
And is it like a tree? Like it's woody, like a tree?
it gets a little woody down here, but it's mostly it's not like hardwood, and
Hmm.
this it only gets about 9 to 11 feet tall, and it's if it's in the right conditions, the right environment. And this is a sister of the same plant. It gets just as big, just a little more decorative with the leaves, and it's just beautiful, and it tastes good. uh, so yeah, these are some of my favorite uh, edible perennials that look good in
Is that
landscaping. This is
is
katuk.
that Katuk? Yeah, Katuk.
Yeah, this is a variegated version of katuk, and the leaves
Right.
taste like peanuts.
So variegated, if I think I remember, variegated, does it kind of mean that it's not a solid color? Is that what that means?
Right, right. So it's not there's a solid green version and there's a variegated. So you got a mixture of whites in there.
Yeah. I think I have the solid one. Do you think that there's a difference in the taste or just by the looks alone is what difference?
I think it's just in the looks. I I'm pretty sure. Uh,
I think what's fun about that katuk plant is that when it's more mature and you would break off a branch, you can kind of just grab the stem and then just kind of zip, and all the leaves just kind of come off,
yeah,
and, and
yeah,
then you have this handful of leaves
yeah.
that you could
It's
just
so
eat.
yeah, it's so easy to add to the green smoothies too. So
Uh-huh.
speaking of variegated, this is a variegated version of Cuban oregano, which is good to use to flavor meats and or make a tea with it. It's medicinal. It smells like oregano.
I have the non-variegated Cuban oregano, and I've just used it raw, where I chop it up very finely and sprinkle it on salads. And wow,
I
it's very powerful. You don't need very
know.
much of it, and unfortunately, it's like one of my best plants. I'm ignoring it, and it's growing prolifically,
Yeah,
and I can't keep up with. I mean, what would you do with? I mean, you hate to waste it. So what would you recommend doing with it besides putting it in a salad or a smoothie? Anything else that, like, would you dry it or?
sure. You could dry it. But when I have excess, I feel the same way. I hate to waste it, but then I have the compost for that too. If I have an excess of anything, put it in the compost. It's not wasting. It's going to have another life and another form to provide nutrients for other plants.
Right, right. Now, when you say compost, do you have worms in there, or it's
Oh no.
just compost?
Well, someday I'll get into to worm composting, but right now I have 3 tumblers, and there's some I really I plan to do on my channel. I plan to do a series on composting. There's so much
Yeah.
that I could talk about in about composting. Um, so yeah.
Well, that's great. I mean, there's just so many wonderful things that you can grow and not have to worry about, that they can kind of almost grow like weeds. And I'm glad that you put, I mean, that's even another topic, just HOA, friendly plants that you can put in your landscaping and not have to worry about your HOA not permitting you to have those plants. That's
Sure.
really great.
Uh,
Yeah.
this is a cranberry hibiscus, and
Oh, yeah.
this is uh, this is one of the very best tasting leaves. It's when I give a garden tour and I let people taste this, I just love to watch their expression, their surprise. They don't expect the burst of flavor, and it's the highlight for me of the garden tour. And this one's
So,
just getting ready to flower, and their flowers are so beautiful.
and you can eat the leaves raw,
Oh
right?
yeah,
and then now most people who, especially those that don't grow it, they might be more familiar with the hibiscus tea. So how does that, is that the same kind of plant that you would get the tea?
Now, there's a number of edible hibiscus, and actually, these are also considered edible hibiscus, but I'm not sure the details and how they work that, because this is actually related to okra. So I'm just showing you what I've read.
Right, because it's just
Yeah,
so many variations and things that
right.
to learn about.
But
Yeah,
I'm pretty certain the hibiscus tea is not made from this.
from
It
the
has
cranberry hibiscus,
to,
it's another.
yeah. There's probably there's some other close relatives to this. There's one that has more decorative leaves, not as much of an oak leaf like this one does. I actually
Right.
put it outside.
So you mentioned that it's going to be flowering. Are the flowers edible as well?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. In fact, these flowers, to make tea from these, you can the day after it flowers is the best time to pluck it, collect those ex, expired buds, and make a tea out of it.
So would you dry it, or you would just throw it in
Just
a cup of
just
hot
throw it in
water?
water, hot water, and steep it for a few minutes. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. And then I actually have one of those as well, and I just, for somebody had said that I could just, as it grew, that I could trim it back and then just stick the cuttings directly into the ground,
Yes.
and that just blew me away too.
Yeah.
You
Actually,
know,
just about, I think everything I have here is the same way. Uh,
it
these
is.
are these I started from cuttings. Yeah, everything I have here. This is sisu spinach, and
Ooh.
so it doesn't have much of a taste to it, but it's
Uh-huh.
nutritious, and you know, at least it doesn't have a bitter taste. Right? It's
Yes.
something nutritious to add to your salads and smoothies. And
And that's another thing that grows best in this climate.
yeah, that's a good point. This is why I love these are some of my best friends right here because they can take the summer heat here, and that's a great thing. It's and they're virtually pest free, and so that's another great thing. Easy to grow. I'm surprised I didn't bring longevity spinach in here. Longevity spinach is uh, is one of my favorites to grow.
Now with the longevity spinach, you just can only eat the leaves off of it?
Yeah, yeah. The
Not
long,
you don't eat the stem part or anything, right?
probably could. I just never have, and that's
Yeah.
I've never never even thought about that. But yeah, and the stem is pretty tender, so I would think you could.
Wow. That's great. Do you know anything about the oxalates? I mean, do all spinach have them? Do you know about that? I know I'm asking you nutrition
Yes.
question.
No, yeah, that's a good point. Let's see. The so I believe it was Katuk that has. You know, I'm not really sure. I'd have to.
Okay, I'm sorry. I shouldn't ask you that because that's a nutrition question,
Yeah,
not a not
it's
a
something.
gardening.
I just know that it's in a lot of the greens that we eat, and most of them are on a level that your body is able to metabolize, and
Right.
so it's you don't want to have too much of one thing, like too much of katuk. You would have to have an enormous amount of uh, consumption of katuk for it to do you harm. But like if you're just juicing it like crazy or making it's if all of your green smoothie is katuk, you could have lung problems. So,
Yeah.
but like I said, you would have to have an enormous amount of it to do you harm. It's got too much nutrition, so don't be afraid of
Don't overthink
adding it to
it.
your salad and adding it. So I do a mixture of a lot of different things when I make my green smoothies. And the green smoothie is I did a video on how I make my green smoothies recently, and it's my favorite way to to get the greens from the garden into my diet. So I always make sure I have a good supply of the smoothie.
I agree. I start my mornings off, or my first meal. It's a big green smoothie, and it has lots of vegetables and berries, and then I get my chia and flaxseed in, and my ginger and turmeric, just all the things that I think that are really important to have, so that this way, if I'm doing errands or running around, whatever I'm doing, and if I don't get to eat perfectly, I know that at least I started off my day with the things that my body needs, and I don't have to worry too much if I don't get everything in the rest of the day.
Right, and herbs. I forgot to mention
Yeah.
herbs. That's the third thing I always add to the green smoothie. So I mean, there's so much nutrition in the parsley that I'm growing, and a lot of, and even some of the perennial herbs that I'm growing. So
Right, and people overlook herbs as a green. They're greens.
and very medicinal. Gotu Kola. It's growing like a weed out there right now. Gotu
I'm
Kola
sorry, say
is
that again. What was it?
Gotu Kola.
Well, I don't know what that is.
Okay, it's if you have insomnia, it's known to. I'm not going to make any claims. I'm going to just tell you that there. It's been said, it's been said to cure insomnia, and a lot of other things. So it's one of the Ayurvedic. I have a hard time pronouncing that word. Ayurvedic herbs that are medicinal and good to have in your diet. But just like a lot of things like katuk, you don't want to have too much of it. They say if you like, I'll have it in my green smoothie, and then I'll take a break from it for about a week or so. You're not supposed to be on it constantly.
Yeah.
So,
So that's something that's friendly for Southwest Florida, which is really
oh
cool.
yeah, yeah. It loves this time of year, I think, too, because all of a sudden it's just started growing like crazy.
Oh.
It's like a ground cover.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Now, can we grow rosemary very well?
Oh yeah, yeah. I just I had a bush for a couple of years, and for some reason it just died. Um, I had one I don't know if this one got nematodes, but I've had one that got nematodes, and that's another challenge we have in South Florida. I didn't know what nematodes were until I came here.
They sound just as scary as they are.
So I'm going to do a series. I actually started a series on nematodes, root knot nematodes. They're called
Well, that's great.
root knot nematodes because they cause knots on your roots, and they're microscopic worms that cause havoc on your plants, especially tomatoes. The your nightshade family plants, and a lot of brassicas. I've had them on brassica roots, and you see your plant isn't doing very well, and you don't really know what the problem is. They're more susceptible to pests and disease, and you think it's just that. No, and then you pull it up when it's dead, and you see all these knots on the roots. Bingo! That was what weakened your plant and made it less resistant to the pests and the diseases. And I want to make a point. Another thing that makes our garden plants less resistant is planting them in season that they don't do well. Now these do well all year long. They're not gonna they may not do quite as well in this time of year or in the winter. We're coming out of winter now, so they're doing better now. But when I'm talking about the more conventional veggies that we got growing out in the beds right now. if I tried to plant some of the brassicas, um, or uh, some of the I'm trying to cabbage. If you try to grow that in the summer, it's not going to grow. It's not going to do well. It's going to get infested with bugs it's just, so knowing when to plant, what to plant is really a big key here in South Florida. Really anywhere, but especially here.
Right, right. And yeah, there's just so many challenges that, I mean, on the one hand, things just really grow very well, and then on the other hand, you have those little challenges. But if you can figure out how to overcome them, which you are doing, and you're going to be helping a lot of other people that can do that as well. I know a lot of people are complaining about the white flies.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So my over at Tree Amigos, they sell this powder. It's called My Control, and it's it's something you mix in with water, and it's a it's a fungus. Well, for it's beneficial for us in that it kills the whitefly. It'll get into the whitefly and they're use the whitefly as a host, and then those will develop spores to keep this mycontrol going. And it kills some aphids. I haven't had luck with all aphids, but on my Barbados cherry tree, the aphids that get on that, for some reason, the aphids that get on that, I've had good luck with controlling. And I gotta say about pest control, now Cynthia Schaefer, who started our Facebook page that we're both on, South Florida Edible and Sustainable Gardening. So she started that page. I'm part of that page. I'm not an admin or anything, but I gave Cynthia her own series on my YouTube channel called Urban Homesteading, and so she and we bring two different approaches to organic gardening. Her approach is, and her motto is, what would the forest do? So she doesn't do any organic spraying. She says whatever needs to happen, let it happen. And sometimes I go about that way too, and I give it a try and just, oh well, the aphids are coming, and let's just hope the predators come, and well, they didn't soon enough. And that year that I just let that happen with my cucumbers, sure enough, the ladybug larva came along. And the ladybug larva, if you don't know what those look like, look it up, because it doesn't look anything like a ladybug. And you don't want to kill these things, because they have a voracious appetite for eating aphids. So when those show up in your garden, you want them to be there. So I had these show up, but they showed up a little late, and my cucumber vines died. And you know what? It wasn't the end of the world. I pulled my vines up and planted something else. There's a time in the season for everything, right? Well, my cucumber season was over.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it almost seems like there should be like a poster of the insects and predators that you don't want to get rid of, because things can be pretty scary looking. So the first impulse would be to try to get rid of it, and it could very well be beneficial. So
sure. I've got a book on my shelf up there called Good Bug, Bad Bug. And
oh yeah.
So
that's a good one to look it up.
Yeah. So it'll show you what the larva looks like, of whether it's beneficial or not beneficial. What is the predator of the bad bug? So yeah, it's good to know those things.
So do you? I mean, there are people that they're all about ordering off of the internet, like they'll order ladybugs or praying mantis to try to combat things. Have you ever talked to people about that? Where do you stand?
So I've released quite a few ladybugs that I buy at the, because I like, when I can, I try to support local businesses. And here we have the butterfly world here, and they have ladybugs for sale. So I buy ladybugs when I do. The problem with getting ladybugs is, they'll eat a little bit, and after, the next day when you go out there, you might find a few, but most of them have gone. It's like maybe 65-70% of them are gone. They flew away. And by 48 hours, you'll be lucky if you find any. So they don't stick around. But they'll help control the problem. So back to what I was saying with Cynthia Schaefer's version of of organic pest control versus mine, and we're going to do a video about this sometime. But basically, I will use BT to control the worms that'll get on the brassicas and other things. I'll use neem oil. I use neem oil less than I used to, because using it does stress out the plants a bit. So if your plant is already stressed from the pests, it's kind of, yeah. Do you want to stress it out even more? And you wonder why your plant just died. Well,
right.
So,
and then you have to worry about, like, when to put it on, because people put it on in the middle of the day.
Oh, yeah. Right, exactly. That's a good point. Yeah. Meanwhile.
Yeah. So and that's the challenge. I mean, we really, there's a lot to appreciate for when we go to the farmer's market and get organic produce, for what these farmers are doing to try to do their best not to use these herbicides and pesticides. And it can be really discouraging to a gardener to come across these kinds of challenges in the garden, and after all the planting and the expense and the hope. But I guess it's like you said, that there's just sometimes you just have to say, okay, this plant's not going to make it, and if you can plant maybe a variety of things in different locations, something's got to take, right?
Sure. I like that point that you made. And for new gardeners, I would say, don't give up. Just a lot of people, they say, well, I just don't have a green thumb. It doesn't work for me. I don't have a green thumb. I give up. No, a little bit of knowledge, and that's part of the mission of my challenge. My channel, excuse me, my channel. A little bit of knowledge can go a long way in putting food on your table. So just knowing some of the things that are so easy to grow that it takes very little care. I mean, I don't have to spray this vine or anything. I mean, when it finally did get aphids, but that's when it was almost a full year in its growth, and it was in the winter. And this was just a few weeks ago, and now I've got a younger vine that is still thriving, and it's starting to produce. And so this is, but my point is, if we're not in the cool season when we can grow just about anything, get some perennials that take no care at all, or hardly any care at all. And these perennials are just pretty much carefree and don't have to worry about pests or disease. And it's so much easier. So I gave up on growing like zucchini. So I've had some success with growing zucchini, but I've learned that if it wasn't one thing, it was another thing, and it was always so much work for the amount of food that I was getting, and it was just frustrating, you know. And so I was like, I decided, why bother putting in all that work when, you know, this stuff, it takes very little work.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I was given a few years ago. I was given longevity spinach in a little plastic pot, and I had a very large pot in my backyard, and it had some flowering things in it. And I didn't have a place to plant this longevity spinach, so I just put the plastic pot with the little plant inside of the big pot, and I just kind of left it there because I never had longevity spinach,
Mhm.
and it's only a few leaves on it, so I couldn't like pick enough off of it to taste it, and I don't know, it seemed like a little funny feel to it when I touched it, so I just kind of let it go, and over like a year's time. The vine just kept growing longer and longer. I wasn't even trying to take care of it, and the roots were coming out the bottom of the pot, And then finally, I just said, you know what? Maybe there's something to this. And then
Yeah,
I learned about how you could just take this long vine and cut it up into smaller pieces and then just stick each cutting directly into the soil, no preparation at all. And
right.
now I have this huge bed of longevity spinach, which I can, harvest it and put in my green smoothie. Or sometimes I buy greens from the store as well, and I'm like, oh goodness, I ran out of greens. I don't have enough to make my salad or my smoothie or whatever, but oh, I had that longevity spinach.
Yeah.
So a lot of these things are really a great resource, especially if you're busy and you don't have time to really care for things in the garden.
Mhm. Sure. So I have something else here that I've been doing. I'm fairly new to fermenting, but this I've learned that mustard greens are just incredible uh, when they're fermented. And this is it's a giant Japanese red. It smells so good. So and tastes delicious. Um, I'm not really into spicy hot, and no one in my household is. So this takes a lot of the spice out, and it leaves a lot of good flavor in. So there's that, and then this is a daikon radish and some of the radish leaves. I normally ferment it. I recently got these fermenting lids.
Oh, that's really interesting. Is
Ferment
that
way.
is that something that you would put like a vacuum hose to?
Yeah,
Not a vacuum cleaner, but a vacuum
yeah. No, it has
garden.
a pump where you can pump the
Yeah.
air out of it, and I meant to bring that into the room so I can show you. But then I've got a fermenting weight. But you don't need a fermenting weight for years. I've done just a Ziploc bag, put some water in it, and use that as a fermenting weight. And I didn't have any special lid. I was just fermenting in something like this. So I only have 3 of these jars, so I'll ferment and then I'll add it to a jar like this. And I've used up all the jars in the house, and so my husband is like, it looks like a store. Fermentation going on that's in the other refrigerator in the laundry room.
Well,
Um,
I tell you, I mean, it's important to have food on hand because you just never know when there could be an interruption of the supply chain, and knowing that you have your organically grown, nutritious, delicious foods that you've jarred up and at any time if you just need something, it's there. That's fantastic. So
yeah, I mean, and then star fruit. I mean, people when they have an excess of something, you can freeze dry it like Cynthia Schaefer does, or I fermented this with some holiday spices and a little bit of Now, I started doing a little bit of experimentation with, there's a little dill. I have some dill in there. Um, so I experimented with adding a little bit of apple cider vinegar. And what I just recently learned is now that the daikon radishes, the household members of my household hate the smell of this once I fermented this. But it's not quite as bad as if I just put it in alcohol. This is all apple cider vinegar, and put it directly in the refrigerator. So next time I probably won't even use this. I mean, I didn't really need the special lid because, and it tastes more like pickles than they do radishes.
Oh. And I think isn't like the radish one of the easiest things to grow? Is that right?
Oh yeah,
So
so easy.
that's a good newbie beginner thing to grow, a radish, would you say?
Oh yeah, so easy.
Wow, that's great. So that, I mean, we could do a whole show just on fermenting.
Right. And you want to get that beneficial bacteria that having a healthy microbiome. It's such a healthy part. I mean, such an important part of our health. You know.
Oh, absolutely. Well, it looks like we have some questions coming up, so I think we're going to start taking some of the questions. If you guys out there have a question, just type it in the comments, and even if you just want to say hi, we like that too. And let's see who's up here. Oh, and this one's from Mary Riley. Thanks for joining us. Do you use cloth-type shopping bags like Walmart to grow vegetables in? That's interesting.
I do have like if you're talking about grow bags, I do have some grow bags. Um, I don't use them as much as I know a lot of other people do, just because they dry out so easily. You just got. I don't have a watering system. Ever since I discovered that I have nematodes, and that nematodes you can spread the contamination through a drip system like the drip system that I had. And so I did away with that. And then when I read the book Square Foot Gardening by Mel Bartholomew, what he recommends, I do it by the book with my watering my garden. What he recommends is watering by hand. And I joke about how, yeah, I carry around a bucket like Laura Ingalls, but because when you're hand watering, the benefit to that is you have more time to look at your plants and inspect, and you're looking for diseases and pests, and oh well, this needs to be trimmed up, or my tomatoes need to be pruned up. So I don't mind doing spending a little more time watering by hand.
Okay, let's see if we have another question. Tammy Wren. Hi, Tammy. Can you please repeat the names of the plants slowly so I can write them down? Well, he can repeat them, but I'm also going to be putting that in the show notes so that you guys won't have to do that and you can be able to see it. But there are some people that are visually impaired, so hearing him again will be helpful to them.
Okay, so these are both the South Sea salad tree. South Sea salad tree. And this is Katuk, Ku. How do you spell that?
K-A-T-U-K or
Yeah,
C?
yeah. And this is Cuban oregano, the variegated version. I have the non-variegated version also. Let's see. There's a couple here that I didn't talk about, but this is sisu spinach.
C, like the ocean, and then, right? C.
Yeah, that's how it's pronounced, but it's SISOO or maybe it's a double S. So I tried
Okay.
it down.
We'll try to figure it out, or maybe you can send me the list and I can put it up in the
Sure.
show
Yeah,
notes.
let's do it that way.
Yeah.
And this is cranberry hibiscus. Now this is a sister to longevity spinach. This is Okinawa spinach, and it's very similar and very similar in taste, but it's got purple underneath the leaves.
Oh, that's very pretty.
Yeah, and it grows differently. It doesn't grow much as a ground cover. It's more of a bush, a short bush. So,
Okay, let's see if we have another question.
sure.
Angela W., what are the best things to use to amend soil?
Okay. So worm castings is always a good amendment. Worm castings, you want to have some beneficial fungi. Everyone loves a fungi, right? So mycorrhizal fungi is you can buy the spores. I think you can buy them around here. One of my favorite places to get something like that is Tree Amigos. I know they have it. Also, the Urban Farming Institute, which is a mile and a half away from our house. So I buy a lot of my amendments from there. Rock dust, either rock dust, also because it has a lot of minerals, or Tree Amigos. They sell a sea mineral. What do they call it? Sea crop. And I use that also. I use it as a foliar spray, and then during a season you'll also do a drench. Compost. That's that's my favorite amendment is my homegrown or homemade compost. Well, I did grow it too, a lot of it.
Yeah, I make a big salad every day and I make a big smoothie every day. So I always have cuttings that are left over from those things, and into the compost they go. And it's amazing how nature just does her thing, and all of a sudden you've got really good stuff for the soil. And I personally have experience with the worm castings from Greenleaf Worm Farm, and I actually gave some to my son had a friend who was interested in gardening, and he had never heard of worm casting, so I said try this out, and he actually planted broccoli from seed and had two pots going, one with and one without the worm casting, and the one with the worm casting, everything else being equal, it was not just larger, but it was actually a deeper green. And they were both planted at the same time. It was just absolutely amazing. So I imagine all those things together are really great. But even, just those worm castings are just fantastic.
Oh yeah, it's great. So yeah, that was a really good question. Thank you.
Okay. Jamie R., what are the easiest edibles to plant and care for in Southwest Florida? So I think you covered some of them. Are there any others that you would add to that list?
I would say at the top of my list is probably longevity spinach. It's just so easy to start. These are so easy to grow. This grows like a weed. So moringa is another one of my favorites, and so nutritious. It's a dynamic mineral accumulator. So the roots collect the minerals in the ground, and they bring it up into the leaves and make it available to us. And because of that dynamic, it's also good to compost. So I cut a lot of it up and put it in the compost, and then that ends up feeding the rest of my garden.
Yeah, that's great. So you have organic compost feeding your organic garden.
Yeah,
that's just fantastic.
It's not just compost; it's mineral rich compost. And I mentioned the rock dust, the mineral rock dust. So azomite is what I'll put like a scoop into each compost tumbler, and what you're doing is it's not something that's available to plants right away, because the microbes have to do their thing with it, and the microbes make it available to the plants.
Right. Yep, it's just kind of chemistry and biology and all kinds of things going on
Oh yeah,
in that soil.
exactly. It's just amazing. Nature is just fascinating. And
Okay, Ray G. Hi, Ray. Thanks for tuning in. Which seeds are best to start indoors? I know a lot of people are thinking about starting seeds about now.
So, it actually July is when I do that. Is I'll have some seeds in here under grow lights, and in the laundry room I'll have more grow lights on the windowsill, and that's when I do my seed starting indoors for my fall and winter garden. And so just about everything that I'm growing out there, I mean, there are some things like carrots, some things that are just easier to just direct seed in the garden. But I like to get a jump on the cool season. So well, last year I was really behind because I had a back injury and just some other things going on, so I got a late start, and that's why I'm just now getting my tomatoes harvested from the garden. But so just so there's so many of them that can be started indoors. The tomato plants, you can do that indoors. Get a jump on the cool season.
Okay, jump on the cool season. Okay, see if we have anything else. Oh, T says thanks. What do you show visitors? What do you show visitors during your garden tour? You were talking earlier that you ended on the high note with the cranberry hibiscus. So you must have a really wonderful garden. What do you do in the tour? What can we see?
So I mentioned my back injury and how I that really I could it was so bad that I could hardly walk, much
Oh,
less get out to the garden. So I had to kind of like let things go and do Cynthia Schaefer's method. So when um, I started on a rabbit trail. Could you repeat the question, please, again?
yeah. So what do you recommend to grow? What do you show visitors during
Yeah.
your garden tour?
So I did a garden tour. This was um, let's see, October, I think, October or November. So you can see that video. I show a couple of things that happened that I didn't. I was kind of surprised to see that, yeah, aphids took over on this one plant, but then there were the predator, the ladybug larva, and things like that. So um, depending on the time of year, right now I would be showing off my garden beds. It really changes during the time of year. So in the summertime, because of the nematodes, I pull everything out of the beds. I have three 4x8 beds, and the tabletop method of square foot gardening, which is it's up on cinder block. And the only reason I did that is because it's on the north side of the house, and it gets so much shade this time of year. So being raised up, it gets a little more direct sun. Uh, so I'm off on another rabbit trail here, but so basically, during the summer, there's not much to see on my garden beds because I cover it with plastic and I solarize the beds to kill the nematodes. Yes, it kills everything, but then at the end of, like, when it comes to the end of the summer, I'll put fresh compost in there, worm castings, get the microbes going again, and the other microbes will regenerate. The nematodes will not.
Right.
So in the In the summertime, I can show you my fruit trees. Some of the fruit trees, like my mango tree that I grafted another variety to it, and I want to graft a third variety to it. So
Yeah, I've heard about people finding certain trees that were resistant to nematodes, and then they were grafting other trees to those trees.
I have
It
an
blew my
eggplant.
mind.
I had an eggplant tree that was about 7 or 8 feet tall, and I had it for 5 years. It died last year, but I had these ping pong eggplants hanging down, not all year long. You wouldn't produce all year long. You would take a break for maybe a few months, and then it would start producing again. And that was grafted onto a wild cousin called Torvum, Solanum torvum, and it kind of has eggplant looking leaves. And so I just did a couple of fresh grafts out there, and I actually did a short video, just a 60-second video showing me do the graft.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's like being a surgeon.
It is. It's surgery. That yeah.
Okay. Oh, Jesse T. Hi, Jesse. Thanks for watching. Any recommendations for what a first-time indoor gardener should buy? So that's a good question. Pot, soil, etc. I mean, that's great for. I mean, because not everybody's in the southern hemisphere, so indoor gardening could be for anybody.
Right. So that's uh, that's a good question. That's not something that I've never been asked that question before. So, being indoors, you can grow, a lot of different things. You're not dealing with the elements. You just need some grow lights, and
And
yeah,
maybe some herbs or something, or
sure, yeah. I actually have click and grow lights where you put the pods. You can buy the pods with that you stick in the water, and um, it is a hydroponic type of thing I have up here. So you can grow basil, and they have all kinds of. But you can pack your own soil, and that's what I've been doing lately. And it's a great seed starter type of thing.
okay. Oh, we have another question. Mary Riley do you have a natural weed killer? Yeah, we're all about
Yeah,
getting away from those chemicals.
yeah. We don't like Roundup.
No.
I used Roundup. I remember when I switched from Roundup to an off brand. It was like an Ace Hardware, their own off brand, and I was using that, and then I realized this has glyphosate in it too, the
Yep.
same ingredient that Roundup has, and it's cancer causing glyphosate that's in a lot of our food. I mean, about 90% of people they've done the urine tests, and found glyphosate in their urine. So this is why you want to eat organic as much as possible, and grow your own that is not contaminated with glyphosate. And you wonder why we've had such a high case of autism since the 90s, and a lot of other diseases. Well, I've been working in film with this company where
Oh, can you just I want to go into that, but I think Mary
yeah.
wanted to know what you use. Do you have something that you
Oh
recommend?
yeah, I'm sorry.
That's
I went
okay.
on a rabbit trail again.
That's
Okay,
all right.
so,
We could do like weekly episodes and still not have enough time to
yeah.
cover all the things that you know.
I know. So I love this question. So it's really simple. What I use is mostly vinegar, and
White vinegar.
yeah, white distilled, just the cheapest you can find, white
Okay.
vinegar, and then I'll add about tablespoon in a gallon. Not even, well, I the mixture that I use is in a smaller than a gallon, but it would be about the equivalent of a tablespoon of like a dish soap. You want to use a biodegradable dish soap. Uh, so I use a Dr. Bonner's. So use something like that that's biodegradable. Uh, and some Epsom salt. A lot of people will add actual. Sometimes I'll use actual salt in it, but that can be harmful to the soil. And so if it's going to be on the weeds that come up in pavers, that's fine. But you don't want to, damage the soil that's nearby other plants that you're growing.
Oh, I'm glad you talked about that, because I heard people talk about using salt and then also using just dish soap, and you clarified that maybe the Dr. Bonners or some other kind of natural type of soap would be good. That's good to know. I think we have another question. Let's see. What's your favorite? Oh, this is State Gardener. What's your favorite peppers for hot and medium salsa?
I am the wrong person to ask that.
That's right. You said you don't like spicy.
So
how about in your family? Anybody in your family?
No, my whole household. My mother-in-law lives with us, and no, we can't handle. So what other people consider mild is extremely hot for me.
Uh-huh. Okay. Well, at least everybody's agreeing in the household, so that's good. We don't have, you have to make separate things for people. Stacy Dion, hi Stacy. What do you think of hydroponic garden towers with regards to nutrients? I really want to get one with the light kit.
Okay, so
I go inside with the light kit with the hydroponic tower. What say you?
So I'm not experienced in hydroponics, and hydroponics is not considered organic, but
right.
I do have this that I mostly use for let me see. Let me turn this up here. I don't really have much growing in there now, but it is a really basic hydroponic system, and so basic that it's kind of short-lived. Probably if I did the whole nutrient thing, then things would probably grow longer. But anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I've not used it because I thought that there was something about what do you do with the chemicals once you're done with them? Is that an environmental concern about dumping out the chemicals afterwards?
Right, good question. I'm probably the wrong person to ask about that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I wound up with a grow tower that you can do indoors.
Okay.
But it's not hydroponic. So okay.
Right.
I think that we have. I think that that's all our questions. I don't think that we had any other questions. And you were coming out trying to talk about something with a film, and I interrupted you because I wanted to finish up one of our questions. So let's get back to that.
Okay, so I was talking about glyphosate and how, and this was another film project that I did for the Institute for Responsible Technology, and it showed in this graph that I animated, it showed that as the farm started using glyphosate more and more since the mid 90s.
Which we know as Roundup, but it's basically weed killer, right?
Right. It's the key ingredient in Roundup and a lot of the weed killers, herbicides. So what followed the same track almost identically was the rise in cases of autism and heart disease, brain fog. I mean, just so many different things. And but what I really wanted to pitch from what I've been working on in the past year is a short documentary that you can view the trailer for this film. It's going to be released probably the 1st of April
of 2021.
Of 2021.
Okay.
So just in a matter of weeks, it's expected to be released. It's called "Don't Let the Gene Out of the Bottle." Don't Don't let the
Instead of
Gene.
Genie, it's Gene.
Yes, I have poured my heart and soul into this. It's a short film, short documentary, but the trailer is available. You can view it at protectnaturenow.com. Please take a look at it and share it too. It's something I can't. Oh, and in this film, a lot of people in the organic gardening and farming business, they know who Dr. Elaine Ingham is. Dr. Elaine Ingham. She is a soil biologist, and her website is I think it's the Soil Web, something, yeah, the Soil Web. Anyway, she's featured in this film, and this film, it's much more than what happened to her in the 1991, but she was very involved in this or there was a connection to a I don't want to give too much away, so
Right.
I'm being very careful here. Just watch the trailer, and
We'll put a link to it in the show notes so people can just go click on that and watch it. Because I know there's a lot of us that are in the audience are kind of aware of the glyphosate and the problems that it poses and so forth. So I think that they'd all be very interested to see what you have to say about it. And,
okay, and also check out my channel, my YouTube channel, Stacks Urban Harvest. And
okay, we'll put a link to that too. And like I said in the intro, I mean, we talked a lot about, South Florida and so forth and the plants, but you have knowledge about other areas of the globe too, so you can be helpful to other people, not just people in the Southern Hemisphere, if they have gardening questions. And you offered that if anybody's question didn't get answered, that you would be happy to do that, and we'll put that link up for them so that they can connect with you and ask those questions also.
yes, my email address.
Yes.
Harvest at gardner.com.
Right. I'm glad you said that. And I think, was there anything else that you wanted to add?
I think that's about it. Thank you for having me on the show.
Oh, I'm so glad that you're here, and I'm so glad that our wonderful audience who are watching and listening are with us as well. I wanted to take this moment to thank somebody that's been engineering in the background that really makes us look so good, because she's been driving the plane while we get to watch the movie in first class, and that's Rebecca from PKA Styles, and she's been quietly in the background and helping out, fielding the questions and doing all the engineering stuff so that we can enjoy our conversation together without too much worrying about that. And then I also wanted to thank Jessica from JustTaseVoice.com, and she did the voiceover and the countdown in the beginning that you heard, and you can listen to it again. She has a lovely voice and does voiceovers. But most of all, I want to thank you guys that are watching and listening. Without you, we wouldn't be doing this, obviously, but you are voting on the internet. So vote for this by watching it and liking it and sharing and subscribing and going over to David's channel, because that's how you tell YouTube and the internet that this is the thing you want to watch, and it'll come up more in other people's searches who aren't familiar with organic gardening or healthy eating, and they'll more likely see this kind of information come up in the feed if you just click like. Or like I said, you can end with us when we sign off. And also, before we go, I wanted to talk about our next guest, and that's going to be Dr. Michael Clapper, Friday, March 5th at 1 p.m. Eastern, right here. This man is a medical doctor, and if you have any questions about the whole food plant-based lifestyle, anything health related, because he is an MD, you are going to have an opportunity to ask your questions here. So, and any kind of medical question that you have or nutrition question, he is just stock full of valuable information, and we're so fortunate to have him with us, and I really hope that you join us. And I just wanted to thank you all again for joining us. Till we see you guys again, be strong, Be well and be green. Bye.